It was a place defined by snow, stone, and complete silence. No signs of life, no movement. No reason to believe anything valuable lay beneath it. And yet, hidden under that frozen ground, something extraordinary was waiting. Gold worth an estimated $115 million. This was the moment Parker Schnabel sent shockwaves through the gold mining world. This wasn't an ordinary find. It was so unexpected that even seasoned experts were left speechless. Cameras were running and machines were operating, but the looks on the crew's faces told a different story. Something major was about to happen. The discovery didn't come from a famous or trusted claim. It came from land many miners considered too dangerous to touch. Early test results stunned everyone. The gold concentration was 2 to 3 times higher than the industry average. That alone suggested this wasn't just surface gold. Something much bigger was buried below. Parker immediately understood the risk. If the numbers were wrong, the losses could reach millions. But if they were right, this discovery could rewrite mining history. What made the situation even more unsettling was the uneven gold pattern. One side showed powerful signals, while the other showed almost nothing. Experts believed it could be a layered gold system, one potentially worth far more than $115 million. But the dangers were just as enormous. There was the risk of ground collapse, machines getting trapped, and even the possibility of destroying the entire season. Parker faced a critical decision: walk away now or push forward despite the danger. What happened next didn't just change Parker's future, it challenged the rules of the gold rush itself. As work continued, everything seemed normal. Machines cut through the soil, conveyor belts moved steadily, and Parker monitored the data from a distance. Then suddenly, one machine sounded different. The steady, powerful noise slowed and deepened. There was no explosion, just a strange resistance underground. The operator instinctively reduced speed. The soil flow became uneven, heavier. Resistance increased. Parker immediately signaled to stop. In gold mining, a pause like this can be worth millions. At that moment, the readings on the monitor began to shift. Density levels were higher than normal gravel. The team recalibrated the equipment multiple times, unable to believe what they were seeing. It felt like something far heavier and more solid lay beneath the surface. Silence fell over the crew. No one spoke, no one laughed. Every eye was locked on the machine or the screen. Fear and excitement filled the air. Some worried about machinery getting stuck. Others wondered if this was the moment every miner dreams of. The first soil sample was taken and rushed to the wash table. It looked unremarkable, just wet, heavy dirt. But once it was cleaned, everyone froze. Small, dense particles appeared, unlike ordinary sand or stone. They were heavier. They shined differently. When the density test was completed, the results stunned everyone. While the industry baseline is considered average, these readings were 2 to 3 times higher. The message was clear. This wasn't normal ground. This wasn't just trace gold. This was a serious deposit. Experts were brought in. Tests were repeated. Each time, the results stayed the same. The deeper the samples went, the stronger the readings became. This suggested gold wasn't scattered randomly. It was layered deep underground, but the experts weren't celebrating. "This is huge," one said, "but it's dangerous." Another warned that such density often signals unstable ground. In mining, the biggest discoveries often come with the greatest risks, and Parker could feel that weight on his shoulders. This land had a reputation. On maps it looked ordinary, but mining records told a darker story. Over the years, crews working here had suffered repeated failures. The ground had collapsed without warning. Machines had been swallowed by ice. Equipment was lost. Time and money vanished. The area earned a name in the industry: problem ground. Most experienced miners avoided it. The risk was simply too high, and the return rarely justified the cost. Some attempted shallow digging, but as soon as they went deeper, ice and water destroyed their progress. Repairs, fuel losses, and delays became unbearable. The biggest danger was unpredictability. From above, the ground looked solid. Below, it was a mix of frozen layers and soft pockets. One wrong cut could trigger a collapse. When ice melted, trapped water created sudden pressure, threatening tunnels, machines, and lives. These dangers aren't always visible on camera, but every miner feels them. That's why, when Parker chose to work here, many were stunned. Because if this gamble paid off, it wouldn't just be gold he uncovered, it would be legacy. Some called Parker reckless, others called him brave. But Parker understood a simple truth. Where the risk is greatest, the reward often is too. The key was never rushing. It was thinking through every move carefully. As new data came in, Parker's expression changed. The curiosity on his face faded, replaced by focus and seriousness. The numbers were strong, very strong, but he knew better than to trust good results blindly. High numbers can create false confidence. He reviewed the data again, compared depth readings, and then went quiet. In that moment, the real weight of leadership hit him. The crew was watching. Experts were waiting. Cameras captured everything. But the decision belonged to him alone. Moving forward meant a chance to make history. Stopping meant choosing safety. Both choices had value. Parker also knew that one wrong call could destroy everything. A ground collapse wouldn't just damage machines. It could cost lives. Yet being overly cautious could mean walking away from the opportunity of a lifetime. This was the moment when experience, instinct, and data all had to align. Parker made a decision that wasn't dramatic, but it was smart. He slowed operations, ordered more testing, and doubled safety checks. It wasn't flashy, but it was the right move. In gold mining, success doesn't come from rushing. It comes from taking the right steps at the right time. That decision would shape everything that followed. As the initial results became clearer, the mood across the site began to shift. A few crew members smiled quietly, as if a silent celebration had started. Numbers like these don't appear often, and everyone understood that if they held up, this could be the biggest moment of their careers. But excitement wasn't the only emotion in the air. Fear was there too. Some workers stood quietly, watching the machines dig into the ground. Their thoughts weren't about celebration, they were about survival. What if the ground gave way? What if equipment got trapped? Every experienced miner knows that major discoveries come with serious danger. So joy and anxiety existed side by side. The silence across the site said more than words ever could. Normally, the area was filled with noise, engines, voices, laughter. Now it was quiet. People spoke less and thought more. Everyone sensed this wasn't just a good day, it was a turning point, one that couldn't easily be undone. Parker watched all of this from a distance. He understood how critical the crew's emotional balance was. Too much excitement leads to mistakes. Too much fear brings everything to a halt. That's why he allowed neither celebration nor panic. The story wasn't finished yet. In fact, it was only beginning. As digging continued, the gold pattern grew more puzzling. Some areas showed powerful signals, while just a few meters away, there was almost nothing. This kind of inconsistency wasn't normal. Gold is usually found in continuous layers, but this ground told a different story. Experts compared maps, samples, and readings. Gradually, a new theory took shape. This might not be a single deposit at all. It could be a multi-layer gold system. That meant one rich layer near the top, with even more valuable deposits buried deeper below. The idea was thrilling, but dangerous. Upper layers are often easier and safer to mine. Deeper layers bring more pressure, more heat, and far greater risk. As depth increases, the ground becomes less stable, and the chance of water intrusion rises sharply. Every meter downward becomes a new gamble. When the initial excitement faded, the team focused on understanding the valuation. The figure wasn't guesswork. It was built step by step. First came weight estimates. The length, width, and depth of the sample zones were carefully mapped, and average density was used to estimate total material. Every calculation was checked repeatedly. Even a small error could mean millions gained or lost. Next came purity. Early samples showed unusually high-quality gold. In most sites, gold is mixed with large amounts of gravel. Here, the particles were heavier and far more concentrated. Experts estimated that the recoverable gold percentage could exceed industry standards. Then, recovery rates were applied. No mining operation recovers everything, but the ground conditions suggested a higher-than-average recovery. When weight, purity, and recovery were combined using industry formulas, the numbers surged past the 100 million mark. After multiple reviews, the valuation settled around $115 million. What worried everyone most was that the numbers didn't shrink as calculations were refined. They became stronger. Each new analysis confirmed this wasn't an exaggeration. Parker and his team realized this wasn't just a dream anymore. It was real and heavy with responsibility. What viewers see on camera is only the surface. The real dangers are hidden underground. The greatest threat was ground collapse. What looked solid above could be riddled with soft pockets and ice layers below, ready to shift without warning. A delay of even 1 second could trigger a collapse. Machinery loss was another major risk. If heavy equipment became stuck in unstable ground, recovery would be nearly impossible. That meant lost machines, wasted fuel, lost time, and millions of dollars gone. Safety concerns were constant. Crew members worked daily in a danger zone. Time pressure added another layer of risk. Weather changes and rising temperatures could melt ice, allowing water to flood the ground and make conditions even more unstable. Parker knew that if the right decisions weren't made at the right time, the entire operation could be shut down. And that made every move matter. After seeing numbers this strong, the real battle wasn't in the ground. It was inside Parker Schnabel's mind. He may have been young, but the weight on his shoulders matched that of any veteran miner. A discovery valued at $115 million wasn't just exciting news, it was a heavy responsibility. One small mistake could put years of hard work, trust, and investment at risk. Parker wasn't only thinking about his crew. Investors, sponsors, and the entire industry were watching his next move. Pushing forward was dangerous. Stopping too soon carried the fear of losing a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. On top of everything, his reputation and family legacy were also on the line. He knew this discovery would be seen as more than gold. It would be judged as a defining moment in his career. The nights were the hardest. During the day, machines, data, and people kept his mind busy. But once everything went quiet, the questions returned. Was he making the right decision? Had safety been compromised? Was he putting his team at risk? Sleep came in short bursts, often interrupted by calculations and second guesses. In gold mining, the most dangerous pressure doesn't always come from the ground. It comes from within. Still, Parker made sure to appear calm. His team needed confidence, even when uncertainty lingered beneath the surface. That's the true test of leadership. Whenever a discovery this big happens, comparisons are inevitable. People looked back at Parker's earlier successes, moments when he pulled strong gold from unexpected places. But this time was different. Those earlier strikes were planned, tested, and made in relatively stable ground. Now comparisons extended to legends like Tony Beats. Tony's massive operations and bold risks are part of mining history. But Parker's situation stood apart. This discovery came from unstable ground, with tighter margins and far less room for error, and at a much younger age. Here, instinct and data mattered more than decades of experience alone. Experts agreed this find was special, not just because of its size, but because of the circumstances. Unstable ground, unpredictable layers, and a massive valuation rarely come together. That's why many didn't see this as a routine strike, but as a potential record breaker. Word of the $115 million discovery spread quickly through the mining world. It didn't start with an official announcement. It traveled through quiet phone calls and whispered conversations. Suppliers, equipment dealers, and retired miners all asked the same question. Had Parker really found something this big? The gold mining industry is small, and news like this spreads fast. Opinions were divided. Some believed it could be the largest discovery in years. Others warned that unstable ground often produces misleading signals. But everyone agreed on one thing: this was no ordinary find. The shockwaves reached even so-called dead claims. Land that had been considered worthless for years suddenly gained attention. Investors began to rethink risky zones. Old maps were pulled out. Data was reviewed with fresh eyes. Parker's discovery didn't just reveal gold. It changed how people thought. Excitement across the industry was matched by fear. If this kind of risk-taking became common, the potential for accidents would rise. The discovery raised new questions, not just about gold, but about responsibility. And now Parker faced the biggest decision of all: move forward or stop. Safety experts warned that the ground remained fragile. One wrong move could shut down the entire operation. But waiting meant risking momentum. If work stopped, millions in investment could be lost. Crews would sit idle. Machines would stand still. Progress would fade. Yet pushing ahead came with its own dangers. Cutting corners on safety could cost lives. This was the true conflict: history versus responsibility. Parker knew there was a fine line between courage and recklessness, and he refused to cross it. This wasn't about making a fast decision. It was about making the right one. By now, the discovery had become more than gold. It had become a matter of legacy. If Parker chose wisely, this moment would define his career. If he chose poorly, it would serve as a warning to others. And there was still another possibility. If the experts were right about a multi-layer system, $115 million could be just the beginning. As drilling and mapping continued, deeper and richer deposits might be waiting below. Industry estimates suggested that if those lower layers proved stable, the total value could reach $150 million or more. That's when a big discovery becomes legendary. The impact wouldn't stop at one site. Future seasons could shift focus. New equipment, larger crews, and more aggressive strategies might follow. In a world like Gold Rush, this strike could become a benchmark, forcing other miners to rethink everything. And most of all, it could redefine Parker Schnabel's name. If successful, he wouldn't just be remembered as a miner who found gold, but as a leader who managed risk with intelligence and restraint. Making a decision of this magnitude at such a young age, and getting it right, is rare. This is where a career turns into history. But Parker understood one final truth: numbers alone don't create success. Timing, control, and discipline matter just as much. Moving too fast can fuel excitement, but it can also lead to irreversible mistakes. And in gold mining, there are no second chances. That's why every step has to be taken with care, so potential can truly turn into reality. Every great opportunity carries a worst-case scenario, and this gamble is no exception. If ground conditions worsen, or the deeper layers turn out to be empty, the consequences could be severe. Machines could become trapped, operations might be forced to shut down, and the entire season could be thrown off course. This risk isn't hypothetical. Mining history is filled with stories like this. The financial damage alone could be enormous. Fuel costs, labor expenses, equipment repairs, and lost time can quickly add up to millions in losses. Beyond that, investor confidence could take a serious hit, making future funding far more difficult. Parker knows that in mining, making money is hard, but protecting it is just as important. The greatest risk, however, is reputation. One wrong decision can undo years of credibility. People would say he ignored warning signs or took unnecessary risks. In gold mining, failures are remembered just as clearly as successes. Behind every major win are countless failed attempts. History is never made without risk, but reckless risk often ends the story. Parker was walking that razor-thin line, and the story doesn't end here, it deepens. The real question isn't how much gold has already been found, but what lies beneath it. Is this just a rich pocket, or the beginning of a system that could produce gold for years to come? That answer remains unknown. Parker's final decision is still ahead. Every test, every calculation could push him forward, or force him to pull back. This is the moment where history pauses, waiting to be written. What's hidden underground may not just be millions in gold. It could be the next defining chapter of the gold rush itself. And if you want to witness that moment when the truth is finally revealed and everything changes, don't miss out. Subscribe to the Timefold channel and don't forget to like the video.